For padding of the side, I'm placing my side pattern on the marco. This marco is called the foreign marco, not the one with several holes. This one is kind of light and it has no holes in it. So I'm cutting out the pattern now. The reason I'm using this marco for padding is because the bag is a busting bag, so I don't want it to collapse, and with the fact that my leather is very soft, so I need it to have a nice structure and stand well. So now I'll be reducing the pattern by 0.5 inches, that is half an inch, 0.5 inch round about the pattern. I hope you can see what I'm doing there. So I'm just reducing all the sides by half an inch. I'm also doing that for the center too, by half an inch. Please watch closely so that you'll be able to get what I'm doing very well. So I'm just using my ruler to connect the marks I've made together. Now let me say this quickly, padding is not compulsory. If your leather is thick enough to stand, it is not compulsory. Now coming down from that point will be 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches, not half an inch this time, but 1.5 inches. So that when the design for the zip comes, it won't be too thick to sew on. So that's why I have to go deeper at that point. The next thing now is to cut out. Now I have the reduced pattern cut out already, and this is how it's going to look like and be inside the main pattern on the leather. So when it is dried, I'm trying to make demarcations also on my leather so that I'll know exactly where to put my marco. I just don't want to assume. I want to make sure I have half an inch all around on my leather when placing it. Can you see what I'm trying to say now? So that I want to make sure that I have half an inch all around. So with that part where I inserted my D-ring and undo, I have to cut out my marco a little to give room for the undo. Yeah, just like that, so that it can relax well. I don't want anything bulging out, and I'm going to straighten out my leather well on the marco. Now I've done that for the second side also, and this is how it looks. So the next thing now, this is not compulsory, but for me, I will be using normal blackhead machine, so I wasn't really sure if my machine is going to work on it. So I don't want anything disturbing my work or not making it nice. So I want to smoothen out the edge a little, just to flatten that edge, the edge of the marco. So I've trimmed the outer part of the marco, and I'm also trimming out the inside of the marco. Like I said, please, you have to be careful. Watch your hand. At some point I cut myself through, but if you're using industrial machine, or you're sure that your machine can cut so through, there's no point reducing it. Now for the body of the bag, also be reducing by half an inch all through, half an inch all through. So the normal body is 11.5 inches by 11.5 inches. So if you take half an inch and half an inch on both sides, that's like 11.5 minus 1, giving us 10.5 inches on both sides. So this is what I'm doing now, cutting out the reduced marco, and I'll be gumming it. Now I've gummed it to the leather and it's already reduced, and I'll also be trimming out, blending out the edges of the marco too. So this is how it is. Now I want to attach my lining to the side pattern. So just watch the areas I'm applying the gum on. So mind you, I didn't put gum on the lining. I only applied gum on the side pattern, and I'll just be placing it, and I'm just placing it on the lining. So trying to straighten out the lining. So now I'm applying gum at the center of the side pattern. Please watch what I'm doing and follow exactly. So now I'm making a V at the corner there, and I'm dividing that middle into two. So on that line I've made, that is where I'll be cutting through. Please be careful not to cut through your leather. Just cut on the line and then fold. The lining that I used brings out air after cutting, so that's why I'm burning off the edges so that I don't lose my lining. So go ahead and fix the second side also. The next thing is to fix this zip slot, and to do that on my chipboard, after making a right angle there to get a perfect measurement, I'll be measuring out 8 inches by 1.5 inches. So after that, I'll place my tape rule, and I'll take half an inch from the top of the pattern and then half an inch from the bottom, and I'll be left with half an inch at the center of the pattern, half an inch from the top and half an inch from the bottom, and I'll be joining the lines with my ruler. So So now with half an inch at the top, half an inch at the bottom, what I have at the center is half an inch, and I'll be going to the side to take half an inch also at the right side and at the left side of the pattern. And I'll be joining the lines just on the half an inch at the center. Please watch carefully so that I'll be able to get this. So that opening, that center, the rectangle at the center, is the opening for the zip. Now you can decide to cut out your pattern this way or make different design, but for myself I'll be extending it a little bit to the down part because I'll be fixing my label. Now I've done that, I've extended it a little bit. You can see this rectangle at the bottom of the main pattern that I did earlier. So now I'm cutting the pattern out. Please just pay attention and watch carefully. Now that I've cut this out, the next thing to do is to cut out that middle rectangle right there. I have to cut it out to make an opening for my zip. So if you cannot use these scissors to cut this, just use a blade or a cutter to do that. Just make sure you're cutting it on the line. Now I'm done cutting out the pattern. This is what it looks like, and next I'll be gumming the pattern with my leather. Now at the center, I'm trying to divide it into two, and at the edges I'll be coming in with a V just right there, and it is on that line I'll be cutting through with my scissors, just the way we did earlier with the side pattern. So now I'll be notching the corners and cutting out the edges for a nice fold after gumming. So please just watch carefully. Now I'm applying gum on it, so when the gum is dried, I'll be folding it. This is a very simple design to make, and you see this kind of zip slot in various handbags. So this is how those zip slots are made. And like I said the other time, you can make it just a straight rectangular line, or you can make any design of your choice. Now the zip slot is done. On the lining of the front and back pattern, I'll be placing the zip slot on it. As you can see, I'm coming down on the pattern by 2 inches, and I've already demarcated the middle of the lining by folding it into 2, and I've also gotten the middle of my zip slot. So now I'll be applying gum on the zip slot, like from at the back. And I'll just place it right there, starting from that 2 inches downward I took earlier on the lining, and I'll be placing it just like that. The reason for the gum is to secure it so that when I'm sewing, it won't start shaking up and down. So now take it to the machine and sew the edges round. Only the edges, not the center at this time around. So this is what it looks like. If you look closely, you see that I only went ahead to sew the edges. The next thing to do now is to make an opening to cut off that lining at the center to provide space for the lining, for the zip rather. At this time, you have to be very careful and just cut out the lining at the back alone. Do not exceed the stitches that you have made behind. So this is what it looks like after cutting. The zip slot, if you remember, is 8 inches, but my zip length is going to be 9 inches. So, and the zip is going behind the zip slot. So the next thing now, I'll be cutting a piece for the pocket, the lining for the pocket. So the lining for the pocket is 9 inches by 13 inches length. 9 inches width by 13 inches length. I have gone ahead to fix the pocket with a zip slot. Please, if you can't make this, if you don't know how to go about this, just visit my YouTube page, Estilupa Studio, and search for how to sew pocket with zip, and you'll find it there. You find the tutorial there. Is very, very simple and easy to make. The next thing now is to make this side inner pocket, and to do that, placing my lining on fold is 6 inches, but if you spread it out, that's 12 inches. But can you see now, unfold is 6 inches and the waist is 10 inches. And this little leather strip I'm holding is 9 inches by 1¼ inch. 9 inches by 9¼ So I'll just be placing it, folding it on top of the lining that I just cut out. This is where the opening is. So the folded edge is at the bottom. So this is the mouth of the lining. So I'll just be placing this leather on it, and I'll be sewing across. Now after sewing, this is what it looks like. Remember that the strip is 9 inches and the lining is 10 inches. So you'll be left by half, with half an inch on each side of the lining. So please, you can watch this again so that you'll be able to understand what I've just done there. So the half an inch I have at both sides, I'll be pressing them. I'll be pressing those edges with iron so that the sides will lay very well. This is the other side too. I'll be folding it in and I'll be pressing. So this is the second lining I have. The first side for the front was what we attached our zip slot on, and this is for the back pattern. Side back pattern of the bag, and this is where I'll be attaching the inner lining, this inner pocket on. So on the lining, I'll be coming down by 2.5 inches. You can see that I've already demarcated the center of the lining by folding it into 2. So coming down by 2.5 inches, I'll be placing this inner lining on that line. I'm also trying to get this middle of my lining, of the inner pocket rather. So I'm placing it on the lining starting from the 2.5 inches I've made earlier. So you can secure with pins so that when sewing, your inner pocket does not dance around. So I'll be taking to the machine now, and I'll be sewing the edges around just like that. So after sewing around, I'll come to the center too and put a straight stitch there. So this is what it looks like after sewing the edges and at the center. So this is it, the zip slot to one lining and the inner pocket to the other lining. So here I'm trying to fix the twin of my magnetic snap, so you can go ahead and fix yours. This is what it will look like, the flap of the bag. Now to join or to gum the lining to either the front or the back of the bag, I'll be leaving about 1/2 inch allowance of lining at the top, just like that. And I'll be applying gum on the areas where there is no marco, on the front and the back of the bag. So with the areas where there is no marco, those areas are the only places I'll be applying gum. And placing the lining on it, make sure that your lining rests well at the edges. Straighten it out so that you don't have rumpled lining. So mind you, the allowance at the top is just 1/2 inch. It's just 1/2 inch. I'll be applying gum on it now to fold together. Then cut off the excess lining you have at both sides and at the bottom of the leather. Now go ahead and do the same for the second pattern. Like this is the back now. The first one I did was front. So this is what it looks like. Both sides, the front and the back, are ready, and the sides too that we did earlier. Ensure you watch this video over again to understand before you start your work.